Color is often used to evoke emotions and to bring a world to life, and sometimes to terrify us. But in some horror films, color is more than just a visual tool. It becomes an integral part of the narrative heightening of our senses of dread, unease, and even beauty. Today we'll explore some of the most beautifully colored horror films that use vibrant palettes to create vivid nightmares. I'm Star from the Horror Cat Super Show. This is The Color of Fear. 10 horror films drenched in color. House of Wax stars Vincent Price as a mad sculptor who creates lifelike wax figures, some made of real people. Though the film is steeped in the classic horror genre, every scene bursts with vibrant hues, particularly in the wax figures themselves. The deep reds and greens enhance the eerie beauty of the figures, making them both grotesque and mesmerizing. The colors used in this film speak to the duality of fear and fascination, creating a sense of dread that draws us in, while simultaneously repelling us. This film is iconic for how the color elevates its psychological horror. The lush color doesn't just enhance the visual experience, it reflects the madness of the killer and the beauty of the horrific creations, making us uncomfortable even when we marvel at the art. Hammer Horror's first Frankenstein film, featuring Peter Cushing as Victor Frankenstein and Christopher Lee as the creature. The film reimagines the classic tale with more gruesome and psychological horror. The vivid color palette of the Curse of Frankenstein gives us more than just a technicolor dream. It's a carefully crafted emotional tool. The reds, bright, blood-like, create a sense of danger and urgency, while the cold blues and greens intensify the creature's grotesque appearance. The color palette mirrors Frankenstein's tortured obsession with his creation, the boundary between life and death, and the madness that drives him. The use of color here forces us to confront not just the grotesque horror of the monster, but the psychological decay of its creator, and Frankenstein's tragic and horrifying experiment. Suspiria follows an American dancer who uncovers a dark secret about her ballet academy, which is hiding supernatural horrors. Suspiria is one of the most visually arresting films ever made. The color, particularly the intense reds, blues, and greens, drive the surreal horror. The use of bold, exaggerated color isn't just about visual beauty. It's about creating an emotional response. The overwhelming red of the lighting reflects violence, danger, and blood, while cool blues and greens evoke the sense of the supernatural. Every frame is a visual nightmare. Where color isn't a backdrop, it's a signal of imminent horror. The color in Suspiria is unforgettable and contributes heavily to the film's nightmarish quality. It elevates the unsettling atmosphere, transforming an already terrifying narrative into a psychedelic, dreamlike descent into madness. Mandy follows a man seeking revenge against a cult after they murder his partner. The film is known for its visually explosive style and psychedelic horror. From the first frame, Mandy assaults the senses with saturated neon color. The electric pinks, greens, and reds are not just a stylistic choice. They serve to immerse us in the protagonist's emotional state. The overwhelming color shifts throughout the film parallel the protagonist's journey into madness and rage. As the film grows more surreal, the colors become even more intense, reflecting the hallucinatory, drug-filled nightmare he's experiencing. The vivid colors of Mandy are the essential part of its psychedelic horror experience. They elevate the raw, brutal violence and the emotional devastation of the loss into a surreal, visually overwhelming nightmare. In Crimson Peak, a young woman uncovers disturbing secrets about her new husband's mansion, which seems to have a life of its own. Color is used to enhance the atmosphere of the mansion. With rich reds, deep golds, and muted earth tones, the colors reflect the emotional state of the characters and the decaying nature of the mansion. Red is the dominant color, associated with love, passion, and violence. It's a color that symbolizes both the beauty and bloodshed in the story. The mansion itself, drenched in gothic hues, become a character in its own right, reflecting the torment and despair of those who live within. Last Night in Soho follows a young woman who finds herself mysteriously transported to 1960s London, where she unravels a deadly mystery involving the past. Last Night in Soho uses colors to blur the line between reality and fantasy. The neon lights of 1960s London, with their sharp purples, pinks, and blues, heighten the dreamlike atmosphere. The colors here evoke both nostalgia and a sense of impending danger, as the protagonist becomes increasingly trapped in a world of deception and horror. The changing color palette mirrors the emotional shift of the story, from euphoria to terror, creating a palpable sense of unease. The colors here are not just used for aesthetic purposes, but to deepen the emotional intensity of the film. The vivid colors make The Last Night in Soho visually unforgettable, while simultaneously underscoring the psychological horror of the story. In House, a bizarre and surreal Japanese horror film where a group of schoolgirls visit a house only to find it's full of supernatural horrors. In House, colors are used in the most experimental way, with intense psychedelic visuals that overwhelm the viewer. The bright pinks, greens, and reds seem to distort reality, adding to the feverish, dreamlike quality of the film. This vivid use of color reflects the psychological chaos the characters are experiencing, making the horror feel both whimsical and deeply unsettling. House is a perfect example of how color can be used to craft a surreal, nightmarish experience. The explosion of color in every scene serves to enhance the outlandish, disorienting horror, making it one of the most visually unique films ever made. Blood and Black Lace follows a group of fashion models who are stalked and murdered by a mysterious figure. This film is famous for its stylish element, particularly the use of color and lighting. Use of color is revolutionary, utilizing bold, saturated hues to intensify the film's atmosphere. The rich reds and blues not only highlight the bloodshed, but also evoke a sense of confusion and danger, where every color shift signals imminent violence. The psychological tension is amplified by the stark contrast of colors, creating an almost painterly, unsettling effect that enhances the horror. Blood and Black Lace is a masterclass in using color to craft a tense, visually striking horror experience. The film's use of color not only adds to the thriller aspect, but also helps to immerse the viewer in the world where beauty and death coexist in a seductive, yet sinister dance. The Blob tells a story of an alien mass that devours everything in its path, growing larger with each victim. This film is often remembered for its campy tone and its disturbing imagery of a growing, gelatinous creature. The color in The Blob, particularly the bright, almost surreal shade of red, adds to the film's sense of escalating horror. The red, which represents the ever-growing danger of the creature, also highlights the fear of an unstoppable force. The Technicolor presentation makes the Blob's terrifying presence feel more palpable, turning the creature's slimy, gelatinous mass into a force that threatens to overtake everything. The Blob uses color to create an iconic and unrelenting feeling of dread, where the color red becomes synonymous with a threat that grows larger with each passing minute. The way the color amplifies the horror of The Blob makes this film a standout in the early days of sci-fi horror. In Peeping Tom, a cameraman with a disturbing obsession, capturing the deaths of his victims on film. The film is considered one of the first slasher films that gained critical acclaim for its psychological depth and disturbing portrayal of voyeurism. The use of the color in Peeping Tom is subtle and deeply impactful. The film's muted tones and stark contrasts create a chilling, voyeuristic atmosphere. The color palette works to reflect the inner turmoil of Mark's mind, making the horror feel even more intimate and unsettling. The muted colors and selective use of red mirror the protagonist's inner darkness, transforming the voyeuristic horror into a haunting exploration of the mind behind the camera. From the surreal and psychedelic to the hauntingly gothic, color in these films is more than just an aesthetic choice. It's a powerful tool that drives emotion and tension. Horror is not just what we can see, but how we can see it. Color, when used effectively, becomes another character in the story, enhancing the terror, the beauty, and the psychological complexity. Thank you for watching.